Hello there guys, the PC Guy here with news in tech and for the week, our weekly roundup for people that want to know what's happening in the tech industry but don't quite have the time to follow the news every day and such. So I hope you guys are having a great Sunday, I know I am. And let's start with the news. We have some interesting stuff this week. Nvidia is thinking of buying ARM. Intel is hitting one of their usual roadblocks in moving to a new nanometer process, the 7nm in this case, after their troubles with the 10nm, and a whole slew of Ampere and RDNA 2 rumors that are coming about. Nothing really confirmed, but new information that definitely is interesting and might change our decisions in terms of how to upgrade GPUs in the future. As per usual, if you don't usually follow our videos, click the subscribe button. It will help us grow, help us make more and better videos for you guys with better quality and more interesting topics as well. And it doesn't cost you anything, and you can always change your mind. And well, leave a comment, let us know what are your suggestions for decorating our new background right there, because it is mighty empty at this point in time, and well, we're looking for interesting ideas of how to decorate it to look nice on video. But without losing any more time, let's head on to the actual real news. First, Intel's woes with the 10nm process are repeating themselves in the 7nm. The 10nm was supposed to already have been launched back in 2016, and it was delayed multiple times to the point that they only started really launching chips in that process node this year, and not even the main desktop family, let's say, you know, the ones that we have on our DIY PCs, those are still on their old 14nm 20,000 pluses, and it's supposed to be at the end of this year, start of next year, that we're going to get the first actual 10nm desktop parts from Intel. But, well, that's already 4 years late, or almost 5. Now, it looks like their 7nm is suffering the same fate, with delays of 6 months to a year from what they were expecting already. And what is a bit less bad news for Intel is that their Core i9-10850K, nice name I know, has shown up in a retail box, so apparently it will most likely be available for purchase for anyone and not just OEMs and system integrators. So it should be one that you can just buy in the box, slap on your Z490 board and just go wild with it. It will have the same core count and arrangement as the 10900K, their current flagship. However, it is, if this information is to be believed, it is supposed to be quite a bit cheaper, with the 10850K around $565 compared to the 10900K's $680. So that's a whole $100 difference between the SKUs. The only difference is that, at least at first sight, the only difference is that the 10850K is only going to boost to 5.2 GHz as opposed to the 10900K's 5.3. However, considering that the 10900K only hits that under very specific thermal circumstances, and considering how hot those chips run, it's unlikely that it's going to make a whole lot of difference. So if you are looking for a high-end performance with a high core count, this chip might well be the go-to in terms of price per performance value. That said, it's not confirmed yet that this will be the pricing and that it will even be available for retail, so grain of salt with that, but it's seeming increasingly likely that at least it will be retail. And while pricing is always another story and it always depends by region and availability and all that sort of stuff, but, well, they are basically 10900Ks that just did not make the cut in terms of stability and clock speed to be actual 900Ks, so they dial them down to a lower SKU. So they are expected to still perform very well, and if that price difference is actually real, then it's a very strong contender to the best bet out there if you're planning for a hefty upgrade. As far as CPU launches go on AMD's side, there are a few interesting additions, especially the APUs, or Ryzen 4000 APUs, and don't let the name fool you, these are based on the Zen 2 architecture and not Zen 3, so the Ryzen 4000 are kind of similar to the current desktop Ryzen 3000 that do not have an integrated GPU, and that's basically what an APU is a CPU with a dedicated graphics core in it, which is what a lot of Intels have, to be honest. But the difference is that AMDs are actually pretty good in terms of their integrated graphics, and if you are not a hardcore gamer, if you just play at 1080p 60 FPS, you might well be able to, at least in some games, just make do without having a graphics card at all. So they have been launched already. Bad news, they are system integrator only, so you cannot buy them and slap them on your PC. You would have to buy an entire PC and, well, strip the CPU from there and use it on your board, which is not exactly cost effective, obviously. And they are, like I mentioned, in terms of performance, kind of on par with the Zen 2 Ryzen 3000 parts, because that's what they are at their core. The big difference is that considering the previous generation, they double the core count in most cases from 4 to 8 cores. They have all SMT enabled with, that's basically AMD's hyper-threading, and they are still a monolithic die, which means that in terms of latency, when you have multiple chiplets like most Zen 2s have, at least the desktop ones, when information travels from one core complex to the other, from one chiplet to the other, there is a certain amount of latency that is introduced, and being a monolithic die like this one's, which is basically one single chip, it eliminates that latency, obviously. So in some cases, as is this one, it does improve performance by quite a bit. On the downside, they are not supporting PCIe Gen 4, only PCIe Gen 3. However, they are compatible with the 500 series motherboards, which is information that's probably not very useful considering you cannot just buy one separately and use it on your current motherboard, like I said, but it's good to know, I suppose. I doubt many people will be rocking these CPUs in the enthusiast sector because, well, they imply that you buy an entire PC around it. But for those of you that are looking into pre-builds, if you happen to see one with Ryzen 4000, I recommend looking at some reviews, but at first glance, and I have not personally seen reviews or reviewed them myself, because pre-build is something that I'm just not very passionate about, at least not anymore. And but the performance and the numbers that I see seems to be pretty solid, pretty good price for performance, and they are comparable to the Zen 2 of the current generation with very strong graphical abilities paired with it. And a little bit of industry news if you are interested in the more technical part. Apparently Japan is going to invite TSMC to build a fabrication plant in Japan after talks of TSMC also building a plant in the US with the US government support. This is some major expansion for TSMC if it actually is true and if it actually goes forward. As of this point, TSMC kind of denies any conversations going on, but they are most certainly happening behind closed doors. And since nothing is really confirmed, well, they probably don't want to spill any beans earlier than they have. The fact, however, that they are talking about this in multiple news sources, so not just tech related, but just general news agencies as well, kind of does tell you that there is some sort of talks going on. TSMC manufactures chips for clients like AMD, as well as Apple, for example. They did until not so long ago for Huawei as well, but that is probably grinding to a halt as we speak because of some legislation changes. So they are most likely the leading silicon manufacturer in the world as far as chips go. So this expansion that they are supposedly undergoing might have a pretty good effect on electronics worldwide. What might also have an interesting effect in electronics everywhere is that ARM apparently is for sale, and Nvidia might be one of the clients that are really looking into buying it. For those unaware of you what ARM is basically a different CPU manufacturer or / architecture that is not x86 based, which is what AMD and Intel CPUs are. They're based on x86 architecture right now. They used to be on x64 back several years ago, but ARM is a completely different beast. There are no really major, at least not very mainstream uses for ARM at this point in terms of desktop CPUs, but Nvidia eyeing it out. They have experienced growth for many years now. They have been growing strong. Their performance is increasing and improving. And kind of on a related note, Apple is actually going to be dumping Intel in the future in favor of ARM processors. So what this means is that ARM is going to face a lot more development, a lot more applications and programs are going to be ARM optimized, so the performance increases that they have seen throughout the years might be complemented by software also being written better for them. So this might in the long term bring about some interesting changes in how the CPU industry looks, and the relative strength of all the competitors involved. Also means a serious blow for Intel, since Apple does move a lot of product, but that's something that we'll have to analyze the impact in the future. Nvidia has been in several buying sprees in the past few months. They have bought Mellanox, for example, an AI-based operation, I believe, in Israel, I think. They have bought other few companies, so they are expanding their business, they are making smart acquisitions here and there, and they are really diversifying their portfolio outside of just the gaming graphics cards that enthusiasts like, I guess, you and definitely me know them for. So they are really growing to the database and AI business, and they are one of the world leaders at this point in that market, so much so that their market cap actually eclipsed Intel's for a while not so long ago. So that just goes to show how they are growing, and well, on the other face of the coin, how stalled Intel is right now. Speaking of Nvidia, the A100 GPU has been, well, considered the fastest GPU ever recorded, which is not really crazy. It's an Ampere family GPU. It's not the one we are supposedly getting on the 80 and 80 Ti family. That's the GA102, so the step down from this one. This one is only available for data center, etc. Workloads. It is 43% better than the previous version of the 100 die that was in use. This was with RTX off, and this is an important point because on Octabench, which is a software that was used, RTX on actually improves the performance instead of the decrease that we see on our home computers. So in this case, this means that this is the minimum of performance improvement that we will see. This does buy the well for the next family of GPUs, and we can always only hope that it will actually translate to that much performance increase on our home systems. Being different dies, and just because they're from the same family does not mean that the performance bump is the same all across the board, so we really will have to wait and see how that all plays out. On less bright news, some researchers have identified a vulnerability that makes use of fast charging mode that a lot of devices have these days, mostly phones and such. That helps them, well, charge their batteries faster, as the name implies. And apparently an ill-attended person with local access might be able to corrupt the drivers or the firmware on that fast charging device, usually USB ports and such, to supply more voltage than necessary and set your device on fire when you try to charge it. They, as I mentioned, need local access, so it's not like someone is going to break into your home just to corrupt the drivers on your USB to melt your phone. But it's just a proof of concept thing that is actually quite scary if this actually ever was used in practice. I don't think this will be something that sees a lot of use, if it ever does, other than perhaps a few pranksters out there. But nothing much to worry about, I'd say. Especially since the vulnerability is fixable with a firmware update to the charger devices, so there's that. Now we're heading more into the leak territory, so take anything from here on with a huge pinch of salt, because it's all unconfirmed information that we are completely unsure if it's true or not, and most of it is not even actually that clear. So we have some big news both from Nvidia's end and AMD's regarding their next generation graphics card. The first one is Nvidia's regarding DLSS 3.0. DLSS was kind of useless when it came out. It got a little bit better with the 2.0 upgrade, and the 3.0 that is going to be on Ampere should really help in a lot of cases, in a lot of scenarios, and it should work on any game that uses TAA anti-aliasing track technology. So that will eliminate a lot of the work that developers need to do per game to make it work. So DLSS should probably work on almost every game. Still some work needs to be done on developers' end, but it will be a lot easier than before to actually use. This, of course, raises a lot of questions. Are they talking about with the DLSS on or not? Are they talking ray tracing performance on or not? It's difficult to say, and I am assuming that they are talking about the traditional rasterization performance, so no tricks and shenanigans involved, just the standard game rendering stuff. But it's difficult to tell, considering they don't really specify. So it's take a gamble on what exactly they mean and hope that it is the case. If it is the case, and if it also means that the TI will be 50% faster than the current TI, then that's a pretty decent solid number, and all other bonuses aside, like better ray tracing, better DLSS, better everything, that really should make it a very, very good purchase. On what is less of a good note, at least in my opinion, Gamers Nexus is pretty much confirmed, and I take that's confirmed because they are very careful in what they actually declare confirmed or not. They have confirmed that the 12-pin connector for the next generation of Ampere cards is actually a thing, so we might have a very strange connector or an extra adapter in our rigs very soon. It's not exactly the end of the world. There will be adapters as well, like I just mentioned. You don't have to rip out of your PC like a lot of panic publications are yelling out there. You just need that adapter. But the point remains that they are very power-hungry cards. They are going to be probably drawing upwards of 320 or more watts at the high end. That might mean that you might need a bigger power supply than you currently have, at least, if you are already kind of running against the limit. And at this point in time, where power supplies are both in short supply and they are quite a bit overpriced because of the whole worldwide pandemic situation, a lot of people are probably going to be dreading having to upgrade their PSU just to upgrade their GPU as well at this current climate. Plus, at this point in time, some other information is also coming on about RDNA 2 and how they might actually be beating Nvidia this time around. It is also completely unconfirmed information, so again, take that with a huge grain of salt. However, so is Nvidia's, so if we're going to be comparing rumors to rumors, well, I guess it's a fair fight. In any case, channel Moore's Law is Dead, which has also rumored and leaked a lot of information in the past. I cannot say that it is credible or not because I don't know their sources, but not saying it's false either. They are hinting at performance increase between 195 to 225 faster than the 5700 XT for the RDNA 2 card. So that's a pretty massive increase. That's more than double. And well, there is no actual information. They are supposed to have hardware-based ray tracing. We don't know exactly how effective either. We don't know anything about pricing, and we don't know much about other capabilities or performance per watt or how many power it will draw and that sort of thing. Just that this is supposed to be the leap forward in terms of performance. And if true, if this is true, and if the Nvidia rumor is true about the 3080 Ti, and if it lines up with the 3080 Ti being around 50% faster than its 2080 Ti relative, then this could mean that AMD's offering will actually beat Nvidia at the high end, which is something that we have not even been close to seeing in many, many years now, and it will definitely be interesting to watch, and if true, might actually make me consider my decision of going with Nvidia for this generation when I upgrade my GPU, but it remains to be seen. There are also more rumors featuring RDNA 2 floating around, specifically that it will launch with 16 GB of VRAM, most likely GDDR6, bandwidth and speeds and all that stuff still unknown and all that, and that is not yet finished in terms of final design, launched in Q4 and only in reference, so no AIB cards yet this year at least. This is actually pretty troubling and makes the decision a lot more difficult, because we do know that Nvidia's are most likely going to be launched around September. AIB cards probably a month or a month and a half later than that, as per usual, I am assuming. And if AMD's are going to be launching in Q4 towards the end of the year and only reference cards, that kind of removes the choice for those of you and us that want to kind of compare the two, see what's best and pick from there. Kind of takes away the possibility of comparing them at launch. Obviously, you can wait a few months and then buy them. That's not the issue. Thing is, for someone like me with a channel, if I wanted to grab one at launch to review, at the start, when they are first launched, that's when the interest is there. That's when you get the views, the focus with the people watching the videos, potentially subscribing, and then keeping up with the channel and helping you grow. So that's what I was kind of looking for with this whole thing. And now it's going to be difficult to decide, and I'm just going to have to gamble, I suppose. Early adoption aside, reference cards are usually a bit on the poorer side in terms of temperature and acoustics and noise. So AMD's only being referenced at the start, at least for this year still, is definitely a blow for those that were hoping to get RDNA 2 card in the rig still this year. There probably will be non-reference cards with better cooling and etc. Afterwards, a month or two later, but it's kind of sad to see only reference at the start. So this has been it for the more interesting news of the week. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Drop a comment, like the video if you liked it. Let us know of some suggestions, like I said, for the decoration back there. Improvements in lighting are coming, already still waiting for a few components and, well, kind of figuring out how to exactly pull it off, but some lighting for the back is coming for those shelves. Also playing with the idea of changing the camera angle so it's a bit better and I'm not just covering it all with this big old ugly mug of mine. So we'll kind of have to figure out how to make that work. Hit the subscribe button to keep up with that, to get more tech news and hopefully more interesting content as well. It will only get better as we grow, and with your help hitting that button, we'll get there faster. So help us out, and we promise to deliver the best content we can to you guys. So hope I'll see you guys in the next video, and in the meantime, as always, have fun.